The following program is a SUTV student production. The views expressed are not necessarily those of Salisbury University, the University System of Maryland, its regents, administration, officers, employees, or representatives.
Thank you for joining us here at SU today. And just getting right into it, why have you decided to run for office?
I've always been interested in the good, whatever efforts are needed to help Wicomico County move forward. I was on the council 8 years ago. For 4 years, I was president of the council as well for a period of time. The reason I'm not on the council now is because I ran for the House of Delegates. That included Wicomico County and a lot of Somerset. So the issue there was I did not get the Somerset vote that I really could have used. So I'm going back to Wicomico County as far as the council. I do that because I want to see the county improve, and there's a lot I think still needs to be done.
Tell me, what do you think has changed about the council since you were last on it 4 years ago?
Well, it's very interesting. Just as I was wrapping up my last couple of years on the council, the last time we were facing the recession, then the recession kicked in. We were cutting our budgets by about 25%, which I've always said was actually a bit of a silver lining, because I believe by the end of that term, you knew that Wicomico County was operating about as efficiently as it could possibly be operating. Back then, a lot of the concerns were, in 2006, of course, were land use and growth, and what we were going to do about that, because we were in the middle of a huge surge. Now it's job growth, and that's the key. Everybody is concerned. They want to try to recover from the recession and grow the economic base and return the services that the citizens of Wicomico County expect.
Specifically, what are some of your experiences or some of your qualifications that you think set you apart from your opponent, and why people should vote for you for a seat on the council?
That's a good question. I have institutional knowledge. I have a business background. I have worked for quite some time with educational leaders in Wicomico County, with a lot of business leaders in Wicomico County, and government agency, government administrative individuals, not only in Wicomico County but also in the state of Maryland. So I bring that to the table. I'm very pragmatic by nature. I'm conservative by nature, and I think that's really what Wicomico County needs. We certainly have to focus on getting our economic base back to where it needs to be, and in order to do that, it's going to have to be a coordinated effort between education, business, and government.
You may have just touched on this a little bit, but what would some of your top priorities be if elected to the council? What are some of the things that you want to see change and change immediately?
I think we're going to have to really go hands-on in looking at what the economic indicators are, and working in a collaborated effort with the leaders in the business community, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce, whether it's the Salisbury-Wicomico Economic Development, the Board of Education, the Salisbury University, as well as UMES, as well as Warwick Community College. There are some meetings that are being held now to try to coordinate those efforts, but I think it would be the council's responsibility to really make it a high priority, and to meet on a regular basis, or to form some type of a committee that would meet regularly, formally, and then actually look for what accountability there is, and find out exactly where we're heading, what the indicators tell us, and to try to see where we can improve.
Well, let's talk about that specifically. Talk about Warwick, UMES, Salisbury University. What do you see the relationship being between Wicomico County and these higher educational institutions? What do you want to see from that? Where do you want that relationship to be?
That's a good question. I think with the universities, the key there is we have a great resource with students, even such as yourself. You're looking to improve. You're looking to go out in the world and make a difference. We would want to take advantage of that in Wicomico County. We would love the students that are looking for that and have the expertise to stay in Wicomico County. We don't want you to go home unless your home's here. So we want to take advantage of that, and we have such a pool of educated individuals right here, and it's such an excellent place in which to live, that we'd like to be able to take advantage of that. In line with that, we have Warwick Community College. Now, Warwick Community College does a fantastic job of coordinating the efforts between their college and the business industry. and in coordinating a workforce development efforts. So that if a business, and they do this, they'll actually come to Ray Hoy, who's the president, and say, Ray, here's what we want to do, but we don't have enough people. We don't have enough nurses, we don't have enough technicians, whatever it might be. And he has done an excellent job in coordinating those efforts to get those, numbers where the industry might need it to be. So sometimes it's the chicken or the egg. The business won't come here unless they have the workforce, and the workforce won't develop unless they have the industry. So it's a very fine balance.
And we do hear a lot of talk about this brain drain.
Sure.
How so many come here, get an education, and then leave. And you spoke about it a little bit with what President Hoy does at Warwick and how he works with businesses. But how else, and specifically, how can you on the council help to keep students here? What can you do to bring jobs here, one, and what can you do to make those jobs enticing enough for students not to leave the area?
Well, a lot of what's being said now is that the students who are looking for employment, they care more about where they're going to be, more so than what that job might entail. And that's part of what we have to look for in Wicomico County, is to make sure that we have all the amenities that are attractive to students. Part of that is the county more recently actually funded Salisbury Wicomico Economic Development to try to encourage entrepreneurship in not only Wicomico County, but more specifically the city of Salisbury. And I think if we can get those individuals sort of as an incubator type system, where they'll want to be downtown, they'll want to try to see exactly what they can take advantage of. They like what the Civic Center has to offer, what Recreation Parks has to offer. We have so many amenities between the ocean being so close by, the Wicomico River. We have airports, we have universities, we have the greatest hospitals here. So it's a very well-developed area to live in. We don't have the mass transit. We don't have a lot of transportation issues. So there's a lot of appeal to the Eastern Shore and to Wicomico County. We just have to make sure that we create that environment for the students. And it appears that the best signs for that is from an entrepreneurial perspective, to try to encourage them to grow in Salisbury.
So let's talk about some of the county's problems, some of Salisbury's problems, and how you would address those. You have issues like crime. You have issues like disparity in the education system. You have issues like the brain drain, which we talked about. You have issues like the pollution of the Wicomico River. How do you think some of these issues should be addressed? How much power do you see the council actually having in addressing these issues?
I think they're doing a lot with it right now. As far as crime is concerned, we've seen major crime going down, which is a good thing. We have a very well-coordinated effort between our county Sheriff's Department with Mike Lewis and Chief Duncan, who's with the Salisbury City Police, as well as with Fruitland and the surrounding municipalities and cities. So I think it's been a very good coordinated effort. There's a Wicomico County Drug Task Force that has done an unbelievable job, and actually it's funny because they'll be doing an investigation for drug interdiction, and they will actually intercept a phone call, or to whatever extent, all legally, of course. But they have actually reported that there were comments that, well, we don't want to be anywhere near Mike Lewis or in Wicomico County because that's a trouble spot. So I think we have a great reputation for addressing crime and reducing it. Education-wise, I think that speaks for itself as well with what we have done already. We've got the universities here, and we have a great educational system in Wicomico County. We've developed dual enrollment, which is a real plus, so that the kids can get credit both in high school and in college at the same time. So I think that's a plus as well. So I think we are on the right track with trying to make things, create the right environment.
Talk to me about, you said the word environment in a different way, but talk to me about the Wicomico River. Where does that fall on your priorities list? What do you see happening with that? Where do you see the council moving on trying to clean that up a bit?
It's a big job. I think we've been making some headway. I've noticed that the city more recently, it looks to me like they have cleaned up a drain pipe that was delivering a lot of runoff directly into Wicomico River. I'm glad to see that. Wicomico County has also been funding $200,000 a year just simply to deal with our watershed projects, to improve our watershed projects throughout the county. I think we're in the middle of of improving 8 different systems. So that's a start. It's not cheap. It's a very expensive process. We're also dealing with the state of Maryland in a different vein. I think, you have to look at, in order to do what needs to be done for the environment, you have to make sure that the numbers are right, the studies are correct, because you need to make sure you're zeroing in on the exact problem. More recently, the state of Maryland came down, Maryland Department of the Environment through the EPA, and it imposed to the farmers that they would have to keep their phosphorus levels below a certain degree, and that they would have to begin what they call a phosphorus management tool program immediately. And of course, the farmers were outraged by it, because it almost seemed as if a lot of the figures and the information that was supporting this wasn't really strong enough to justify what they were requesting. It hadn't been reviewed carefully enough, and over and above everything else, they had really never done an economic impact study. And the farmers have made huge efforts over the last years as far as trying to reduce the nitrates and the sediment and the phosphorus runoff. They've also planted a lot of cover crops, which are important in order to keep these minerals from leaching into the Wicomico River, or the Nanticoke, or whatever it might be. So I think a lot of the efforts have been made, and as I said, Wicomico County is putting funding, $200 a year in, and we're moving forward with it.
Well, finally, I want to know if there's anything else you'd like for the students at Salisbury University to know, anyone else who may be watching, about your candidacy and your plans for the council.
Sure. Well, I certainly would like their support if they're, if they're registered voters, and if they're not, register and vote. Very pragmatic individual. I have the experience. I have the working relationships with the people that are necessary. I listen very well. I think I'm a good decision maker. I have no problem making the hard decisions when it's necessary. And of course, I do have the best interests of Wicomico County and all the individuals here.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Cannon.
Thank
and we
you.
wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, thank you very much. Enjoyed
Thank
it.
you.